All right, what's up, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly how I personally look for a mentor and how I would recommend you as a coach to find a mentor. This is the reason why I'm making this video is because I've had people ask me like, how do I pick a mentor? What's the best way on calls? Like I've had a lot of calls where people ask me that. Um, and so I want to make sure people understand like what really you should be looking for, because even if somebody looks really good, right? Even if they're doing amazing for themselves, that doesn't mean they're going to do amazing for you, right? There might be others that might be better for you compared to that person. And I'll explain why in a second. So I'm excited to share this because I think it's a different way of kind of looking at it, because I've invested my fair share as well, and it hasn't always worked out. And so I want to prevent you, help you prevent investing in people that are likely not to work out for you, right? So let's get straight into it and let me share my screen. So this is how most people find mentors. Okay. I'll start here with the left. Usually they start with seeing like, oh, amazing personal results, right? Oh, I just made 50K, I made 100K, made 150,000. Everything that I'm saying here is not like a bad thing. Okay. It's not that people that do these things are bad mentors. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that the prioritization of these traits above the ones that I'm going to mention, but is, in my opinion, what's going to limit you in picking the person that's actually going to get you the results, right? And so it's not that they have to have bad personal results, right? And when I mean personal is like in their own life, right? What they're preaching, having the results of what they preach. It's just that putting that in first might be trouble, right? And I'll explain in a second. So also if they have like an amazing lifestyle, right? If they're spending and then they're Lamborghinis and they're traveling around and all that stuff, again, not a bad thing, right? Definitely not. It's great, right? You should definitely treat yourself and everything. But looking at that first, right? This is almost in order. Like maybe I should put this in numbers, but looking at that first is potentially problematic. Also, having a lot of people that join their program, right? That's another thing. To look at first is not good. Like I know people that had 400 people in their program, but they weren't really doing great. The community wasn't engaging, nothing, right? It was not really performing well. So yes, they made a lot of money, and that's some proof of what they were teaching. But ultimately, I don't know, if you make money and your clients don't make money, it's kind of like, well, okay, what does that mean, right? So that's also something that I would not look at right away. So the thing of like, I have 500 clients or I've helped over 1,000 people. Yes, that's great, but maybe not the best thing to look at. Uh, Having client results, right? That's definitely important. But I'm gonna share with you like specifically how to look for client results that are going to work for you as well, right? And then also good at marketing, right? Like some people, they just know how to talk. They know how to nurture people. They know how to say the right things to get people to really believe in them. And that's a powerful skill, absolutely. And it's important. And if they're good at marketing, there's a chance they could teach you that as well, right? But the issue is when it goes overboard and they're only good at marketing and they actually don't know how to help you learn that, right? And do that yourself. So again, this is just my perspective, and these are not necessarily bad things to look at, but looking at these first, again, I personally think is a little bit backwards. So what is it that I look for instead, um, to find a mentor? So first thing, amazing client results, right? Over 90%. And I put this first because I personally believe that somebody who can get results for 10 people in their niche that they're helping with, right? Over themselves, one person getting results is, sorry about that, is a lot more powerful. Like even if it was one, actually, I personally believe that getting somebody else results, one person, versus getting yourself results is more important for the purpose of, inspiring somebody to buy from you. Why? Well, because each niche is different, right? Now, you might say, well, if you don't get results, how are you going to get other people results? That's fair, right? But ultimately, it's if you get another person results, like it still counts, right? And the reason why I think it counts more is because you were able to master the things that the person needed to be able to get the result and transfer that to somebody else, right? So I might be a great closer, but that doesn't make me a great teacher, right? Like there's plenty of people that are great closers, but they will never be good managers because they don't work at the skill of teaching others, of patience, right? Of putting others first. And so because closing is more of a hunting thing, right? A one man game. And so because of that, they're not going to make good managers and stuff like that. So ultimately, that's the trait I'm looking for: somebody who can teach me the way, right? And hopefully, they also have some results for themselves because that does help, right? But there's plenty of coaches all over the world, like the biggest American teams, let's say in sports, and football teams as well, in Europe and everywhere. The coaches maybe were even former players, right? They can help, but sometimes they weren't former players, right? And those can be some of the best coaches, right? I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think Mourinho, Portuguese coach, I don't think he was a player. Again, I could be completely wrong. They could have been players like at a lower level, right? But that doesn't necessarily make them worse coaches, right? What makes them good coaches is that they're good coaches, right? So it's a different thing. Anyways, uh, second thing is good values, right? Who are they as people? More than their lifestyle, and I put this in contradiction to that a little bit, is what do they stand for, right? Because somebody who has a great lifestyle, that's great, right? But what happens behind the curtain, right? Like when you join their program, what do you get, right? What kind of support, attention? And ultimately, when things are not working, what kind of support and attention do you get from them, right? That's really the test, because it's really hard to stay dedicated to getting client results, especially when things are not working. And it's really easy to blame the client, right, for not doing the work. And that's a very thin line because, yes, there is always that perception and that idea that, and it's true, right? The clients do have to put in the work. But why are they not doing the work? Maybe you could ask yourself that too, right? If you've tried 10 times different strategies on how to get people to move and be motivated, right? Both logical and emotional, approaches to the error, and that they're still not moving, well, then it's out of your hands, right? If you've tried everything. But have you really tried everything, right? Have you researched on like the best ways to get people to do stuff, right? In order to change their lives, to challenge themselves and everything. If you haven't done that, then it's like you really haven't, you can't say, oh, the client didn't do the work, right? It's like, well, if you just did everything I told you to do, great. Well, if that was the case, then I would just buy a course, right? It's just I people need more than that, right? They need accountability. They need somebody that's going to be there for them. It's going to teach them how to think. So that's why good values, I think, comes in a very close second, because you want somebody who is doing it for the right reasons, right? Not just for their vision of grandiosity or amazing lifestyle, but simply because they're really passionate about solving problems for their specific clients, right? And they have good values, meaning like they don't just get people's money and they're okay not getting people results, right? So this is my second one. Third one is main focus is truly client results, right? So, and this ties into the second one, but it's basically in the list of priorities, right? Above all, they have client results. So I could even go as far as saying that they would be willing to pause their business growth in order to work on getting better client results before restarting the system again, right? Before restarting the ads or something, especially if their success rate has dropped from 90%. Um, which is, it's a lot to ask, right? Because people want to make money and they have lives to support. But I think a really good coach has perspective over the 10-year period. And because of that, they will have the right thing in place, which is clients. That is always going to be the reason why people buy from you, right? That you ultimately can fulfill your promise. And I've seen a lot of people that were really good at marketing, but their programs were not very good. And eventually they start to die down. And I think in 10 years, they won't be here. And that's okay. They had their run and maybe they made a good amount of money. That's okay. It's not like they scammed people, right? They still gave them value, but it was just not a great program. But somebody whose main focus is truly client results, that person will do everything to get their client results. And that's truly something that I aspire to do. Even though it's not always easy. Now, next thing is all these pop-ups. Next thing is final thing is they have a clear explanation on how they can help you specifically based on what they learned from their other clients, right? This last thing is doesn't matter if it's from other clients, but that can help actually. So like I see a lot of people doing pitches, right? In when they're presenting to coaches, and it's good, right? Like I appreciate them trying, but a lot of people what they're looking for is not the same pitch that everybody else does. Even if your pitch is better structured and has better overall framework, people still need to connect to the pitch as if it were for themselves only, as if it were written in the moment for them, right? And not in a like improvised way where it just doesn't feel right, right? It's not structured. You need to have the structure and the personalization, right? So I had a call recently where basically one person told me that they really liked my pitch because they had heard like the structure of the pitch before, right? Of how I presented, but the way I personalized to the person and showed them why it would be different for them, right? In their specific case, because they had a very specific offer, is what sold them on the idea. And that's ultimately what you want to do as well, right? Like you want what you want to look for in a mentor is somebody who can tell you exactly in your specific situation, like how they're going to adapt. And let me tell you this, it probably doesn't matter, honestly, because I'm not that special. You're not that special, right? There's no specific thing that's probably going to make it different to deliver for you. But somebody who is willing to go to that depth of explanation and that nuance of your situation is somebody who has that trait of not only detail oriented, but also paying attention to somebody. So it shows good traits of coaching, right? And that's super important. So that's kind of like one of the ways that I see it. Um, and it also shows expertise, right? Because a lot of times you cannot make it specific enough. If you cannot make it specific enough, like that means you don't understand it enough. And then, so there's three stages: generic and somewhat simple or difficult to understand. Then you have specific but difficult to understand, right? So you're very technical, but you just can't explain that in a way that is simple. And then you have the highest level, which is when you understand truly the thing, which is when you can explain it in a very simple way, right? And just make sense. And it's very personalized. That's the type of person you want to be looking for. And ultimately, I'm going to add a bonus here, which is look for people, look for mentors who are just ahead of you. Meaning, not somebody who, you know, got to 10K or 50K per month like uh, 5 years ago and now they're making 500K per month. Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But somebody who just did it right now in something that's working is very valuable because even though they might not be able to explain completely, they can guide you. That like it's the best person to teach you because they just made it. So like they can literally tell you just what they did, and that would be already very useful, right? Compared to somebody who's not at 500K, has different types of problems, and doesn't is not as focused on that part of the journey anymore. So, anyways, hope this was helpful. If you want more content like this, you know, to be able to help you decide on who is a good mentor for you, or you know, just overall how to grow your coaching business to 50K per month, um, leave a subscribe and leave a comment with questions, and I can always create videos around that. So have an amazing day and talk soon.